So, welcome to another Monday mindfulness meditation practice. And today, I wanted to start by mentioning that the next session where we will meet will be on November 2nd, which is the eve of the election, presidential election in this country. And I wanted to do something special on that night. So I'll post something about it in the mandala and invite you all to show up for that too. It'll be a little different than what we normally do, but not completely. I just feel like it's important that we go into that period with intention. So we'll do that. And sort of because the world is in such a challenging place these days, without talking too much more about it, because there's just so much talk and so much stirred up, I thought it would be good to just kind of go back to the beginning of our practice in a way, to refresh and renew and review the basic ground of what we're doing here, to kind of come into that sense of beginner's mind, the curiosity about our own practice, and also to kind of, how we refresh the screen, refresh ourselves so that we are able to meet these moments one after another with a fresh curiosity instead of slipping so easily into our old patterns. Even with this, it's like we quickly can fall into sort of some old habits and, oh yeah, I know what we're doing here, right? And actually every moment we want to make it new. We want to be, it is new. I mean, as we say over and over again, life happens in the present moment. It doesn't happen in the past, and it doesn't happen in the future. It's already done in the past, and the future's not here yet. So this is where it's at, baby. And we need to remember that every single moment, because we get so habituated to, like this is just what it is. We slip into these old ways of being that just aren't very awake. And the times are calling us, and the practice, and all of our teachers and lineage masters and everybody, ancestors, elders, trees, animals, they're all calling us to wake up right now. So that means to be here and not somewhere else. And so the practice of mindfulness meditation is a training. It's a training just like playing the piano. We have to train to learn how to play the piano or any instrument. We have to train to learn a language, or to work out in the gym. We have to go and we have to train and practice in order to build new muscles and get in shape. And it takes time. It takes a commitment to show up over and over and just do the practice. Not do something else, but do the practice, And we do it because we want to. We do it because we know we need it. And we do it because chances are we've probably reached the end of a particular path that only leads to more suffering for ourselves and others. And we see that. We know there's another way, but we don't really know what it is. And so that's where the curiosity comes in. Yes, 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 yes. So how do we create the conditions for something new to arise, where that other way begins to unfold in our lives. And we're not just repeating the same old things over and over again. So that's what this is about, is creating the conditions, putting the pieces together to create the container for that something else to arise in us. And so we invite ourselves and each other to, number one, calm down. Just take a break and calm all that busyness in order to find that place of inner peace, that place of resting, to see more clearly, to understand more fully, to not continue to live cut off from our true selves, our true nature, which is what we've learned. How we live our lives collectively is so cut off from our true nature, and of course from Mother Nature. So we want to, create the conditions so we don't keep reacting in the same old ways, but we train ourselves to respond instead of react, to respond with compassion for ourselves and others, and with insight. And the first step of that training is to enter into this place of what we call calm abiding. I love that term so much. Calm abiding. That's where we can take a breath. We can settle down. And we can take our seat and get comfortable in the present moment and generate awareness of what's happening as it is happening, instead of being caught up in the past or the future. Every single time we take a breath with awareness or mindfulness, we can return to that place of calm abiding. It's not about thinking at all. There's nothing to do and nowhere to go. Radical, huh? Chuckle, Walter. I'm going to turn you off, your audio off, Walter. You can come back to us after. Yeah, so I think it was last time we met, we talked about when we come together, imagining ourselves entering a temple. That when we come into this Monday mindfulness meditation, we're actually entering a temple, a sacred place. And we come into it knowing that each of us is sitting here in this circle. Each of us is taking our seat with full presence and respect. We honor each other's presence. Think of what we're unfolding here, what we're coming to, what we're understanding. It's so incredibly precious. So we don't just, kind of act as if this is our normal everyday life. We actually act as if we are doing something very special in a very special place at a very special time. And we take our seat and we find our breath, And we do that as if we're in the presence of a great master. You know, the most incredible source of inspiration is right here in our midst. And that's, in some ways, it's each other. We are each a facet of that beautiful wholeness that a great master embodies. And we also practice walking meditation as if the earth is our beloved and every step is holy. So when we walk, we come into such a sense of presence that that's how we walk, making contact with the ground as if we're kissing the earth. And we listen to the sound of the bell as if it's the most beautiful sound in the world, reminding us to come back each time we hear that sound. Come back to ourselves, to our true self. Come back to the present moment. Come back to this precious human life that we have been given to wake up. There's nothing more precious than that. When we step onto the path and we realize we have arrived at a place and a time where that is possible. So then we find our posture, you know, the way in which we inhabit our body, our physical experience. We honor this vehicle with our loving awareness. And we remember that this, what we call the central channel, you know, is the place through which the life force flows through us and helps us to awaken and nourishes every cell of our physical existence, which is such a gift, because without it, without this body, we wouldn't have this chance to wake up, to come into the relationship of interbeing with every single tree and animal and human being and flower, as Mary Oliver would say, you know, gazing at the rose. So this physical existence is, you know, where we begin. And we align ourselves with our whole body, speech, and mind, and our physical, you know, alignment as best we can. If you can sit in a, you know, cross-legged on the floor, that's always the, you know, way that we're taught is so helpful for meditation. But of course, most of us aren't doing that anymore, if we ever were. So we find a position that we can sit in comfortably with our spine straight and our chest open, so that the heart can be accessed more easily. And we can feel that sense of alignment. And we put ourselves also into a position that is comfortable, because we won't meditate if we're uncomfortable, right? So we want to be comfortable, and what we do, what we need to do with cushions and pillows and things like that to make ourselves comfortable. But we want to be upright, because when we're upright, we are meeting the moment with all of ourselves, you know, instead of kind of slouching back. And I'm looking at you, Ellen, and I know you have trouble sitting up, and I always celebrate actually the way in which you do look very comfortable. And I think you do actually move to a chair for the actual sitting, yeah. So I'm aware of all of that. And I appreciate your doing what you need to do. So you want to find a posture that you can sustain without moving for 15 or 20 minutes. And of course, if you have to move, you move, but you do with mindfulness. You do that with awareness instead of just, without thinking. If you can notice the itch and not necessarily have to scratch it, it's actually a really good way to practice. It's a helpful practice to not necessarily engage every single little itch. It's training. This is about stopping. Stopping in order to create the conditions for something new to happen. So if we continue to constantly just move around distractedly, the way that we normally do, without awareness, I don't know how it will be really possible to arrive at something different. So we need to cut through those habits. And this is one way we can do that. To stop, to literally stop. And it's very helpful to have each other to do that. And it's partly why I don't necessarily ask us to turn off our videos during the meditation, because I think even though some of us may be turned away from the screen and distracted by looking and seeing, if we are a little bit aware or looking at each other a bit, we can learn from each other as if we were in the same room. From how we sit, how we take residence up in ourselves. And then we, take a breath, come back, find our breath after we've found our posture, find our breath. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And remember the gathas that have been given by Thich Nhat Hanh, which really are very, very helpful to memorize, to take it upon yourself to memorize them. Breathing in, I calm body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. And on the in-breath again, dwelling in the present moment. And on the out-breath, I know this is the only moment. And just coming back to that gatha, that little mindfulness poem done on the breath, every time you remember it and use it throughout the day. The other one being just simply in, out. Deep, slow, calm, ease, smile, release. Present moment, only moment. These gathas are like, a thread that we can take hold of when we get lost, in all of the thoughts and feelings that want to blow us away. And just simply the breath itself. It's an anchor. It's an anchor for us in the busyness and in the distraction. So then letting our attention just rest. It's not about efforting. It's about relaxing. Something we don't do enough of. And as your body relaxes into this kind of awareness, every cell responds. This is refreshing. When the mind wanders, we just gently bring it back. We notice, and we just gently bring it back. We don't get involved in a story about it. Just bring it back. Bring it back to the breath. Bring it back to our posture. Bring it back to the stillness and the quiet. Remembering, we also talked a week or so ago about that unbounded space that dawns when we just rest in this place where we're not thinking, we're not doing anything, but we're just practicing, we're training, we're practicing. And when suddenly you realize you are in this kind of vast place that is clear, yet lively, and yet calm and unbounded, our own true presence without doing anything. And that's a Dharma door into being present, being into our own Buddha nature. So we think we have to be busy all the time. And if we're not, there's something wrong with us, right? And if you think about it, where is that getting us? It's just taking us more quickly to our own demise, right? So we know that when we can stop like this, it's good for our health. It's good for our relationships. And it's good for Mother Earth, as we know that our way of living is not working for her either. So as we become more stable in this experience of just being with ourselves in this way, we can then open attention to our heart and allow our awareness to take root in the center of our being and just rest right there. And appreciate ourselves for being here. Whenever the mind wanders off, come back to the breath. Take another breath in and out. When we feel restless in the body, come back to the relaxation and ease that is there when we stop and find our breath and give it to ourselves. When the emotions come up, which they do, when we are, kind of emptied out and coming into this kind of experience, suddenly sometimes the emotions arise very strongly. And we don't need to do anything with them. We don't need to interpret them or analyze them. We can just breathe with them too. Just let them flow through. Sometimes the tears are like the greatest nourishment we could possibly receive. And there's lots of other emotions too. But anyway, meditation is not about engaging with all of those things. It's definitely not about thinking, people. We're so mind oriented. It's not about doing, it's not about thinking, it's about resting our busy minds and all those thoughts and feelings just that consume our attention day in and day out. So when we can rest all of that and just find that calm abiding and that stillness and that stability, in this practice, this vast universe opens that is the true source of wisdom and compassion. It's not here. It's everywhere. And this is our best protection when we are afraid. This is what we want to wrap ourselves in as a cloak when the world seems crazy. This is the place where we can see our own truth and walk our own path in peace and compassion. May it be so.